We have 10 more seconds to go, 10 more seconds to go. 5 more seconds. Time's up. We go for the jumping squats. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Rest time starts now. Rest time starts now. Walk around. Walk around, walk around. Walk around. We have 5 more seconds to go. 5 more seconds to go. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Well done. Our rest time starts now. We have one more set with the warm-up. One more set. One more set. One more set. Five seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and time's up. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, keep going, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and of course, 20. Well done. Rest time starts now. How are you feeling? I know. We have 10 more seconds left. 10 more seconds left. Time's up. Time's up. Let's go for the swing. 20 swings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, squeeze, 17, 18, 19, 20. Well done. Rest time starts now. Rest time starts now. So, after that, what we're going to do are time squats. So, if you're able to carry the water without, do the water or weight without holding anything, the better. If you have to support yourself for this, you'll get this here, and we'll be doing 30 seconds of that. Alright, 30 seconds. Just like We are not counting. Yeah, today we are not counting. We're doing the time squat. When we get to 20, you hold it there for another 30 seconds and continue for another 30 seconds. Oh my goodness, that's hot, right? That's hot just from saying it. So we're gonna have a pause in between for 30 seconds, and then you continue for another 30 seconds. So I'll be holding the water here. If you can hold water, you can hold weight. If you're in the gym, you can even hold the bar and do this together with me. I'll just put the timer. Let me move my stool here. We'll use it at some point, but I can use it specifically for that. So are you ready? I know you're gonna tell me you're not ready. I am ready, so we gotta go. Let's go. 1, 2. We're not counting. Remember, it's a timer. So I'll tell you when it's time to pause. Oh, this is gonna be nice. Keep going, keep going, keep going. We have 10 more seconds. So next time you tell somebody to wait for you for 1 minute, you know what you're talking about. And it's time to pause. Our time's up, it's time to pause. So we're just here for another 30 seconds. This feels so good. You better be talking about some stories right there. Torso upright, sitting on your legs, torso upright. 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. Keep going, don't drop it. Time's up. We go for the next one. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. You're doing great. I know now it's burning, but keep going. Keep going, keep going. The secret is push yourself, challenge yourself. Keep challenging yourself. 10 more seconds. Nice and slow, like a bouncing ball. Don't stop, don't go all the way up. 5 more seconds. And our time's up. Well done. Well done, well done. Our rest time is another 30 seconds. If you want more rest time, you're gonna put in more time on the squats. That's quite something. We have 2 more sets of that to go. So walk around, enjoy the 30 seconds, sip some water, and think about your strategy. So next time you tell somebody to wait for you for a minute, 1.5 minutes, you know what it means. Oh my goodness, you have 3 more seconds to go. There we go, the time's up. So we start that again. Time's up. Are you ready? Well, I am. Are you? Position yourself. I'm trying to buy you like some 10 seconds for more rest. Let's go. Let's start now. Keep going, keep going. The secret is keep moving. No matter what, keep moving. Don't look at the timer, keep moving. I got you. We have 5 more seconds to go. 5 more seconds before the pause. And there we go. We are now on the pause. I try to look at the timer when it's you know, half the time in. So I hope it's 15 seconds. Yes, it's 15 seconds left on the pause. Don't drop, let it burn. Let it burn, let it burn. We have 5 more seconds. 5 more seconds of burning it down. Bring it down. And time's up. Let's go for the next one. 30 seconds. Keep going. You got this. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I know it's burning. Keep going, keep going. We have 10 more seconds. Keep going. I know it's burning. Don't drop it. Don't drop. Don't drop. Fight on. Fight on, fight on. And our time's up. Oh my goodness. If you're doing it through with me, you're feeling those legs, right? You're feeling those legs. All right, all right. We have one more set to go. One more set. Just to bring it all down. All down. How are you feeling? I know. I know how you are feeling. Walk around. Can you believe it? Our rest time's up. I don't know if it's only me, but you tell us in the comment section if your timer moves faster during rest hour time. Sometimes I feel mine moves very fast during the rest time. All right, last set. All right, you got this. Last set. Let's go. Keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Keep going, keep going. We have 5 more seconds. 5 more seconds. Let's pause it, pause it, pause it, pause it. Pause it. There we go. Hold it. Hold it, hold it. I don't want to check the timer. Don't look at me. All right. We have 10 more seconds. Hold it, don't drop. Hold your hip tight, torso upright. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Time's up. I'm giving you like 5 seconds to rest. And there we go, let's go. Keep going. It's the last set, you gotta push yourself. We have 15 more seconds. Push yourself, push yourself. We have 5 more seconds. Keep going. Our time's up. Oh my goodness. If you're like me, you're shaking. But that's good because we're bringing that muscle to surrender. You did amazing, you did amazing. You did amazing. Our rest time starts now. For the next 30 seconds, our rest time starts now. Sip some water, that was quite something. We have 5 more seconds of rest. 5 more seconds of rest. Here we go. So we are going to our next workout. Our next workout, remember the stool that we brought? Yes, put it centrally there. Let me just put this on the side. If you have a stool, if you have a sofa set, you could use it to do this because we are putting our legs up there and then we're squatting down. So what we're trying to do is to work the inner part of your thigh. So we're going to do 12 on each side. That's 1 set. So we're going to do 3 sets. Are you ready? If you're like me, definitely you are killing it and you're sweating yourself out. Starting this day on a new normal, new energy. By the way, today when I woke up, I was feeling like, oh, I want to make it. But right now, I'm telling you, I'm so much awake and in control of my day simply because we put in this workout. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, gave you an idea the last time. So if you feel like you're focusing so much on the workout, feel free to have some little music in the background. It goes a long way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Our rest time starts now. Walk around. And time's up. Set number 2. One, 2, 3. Make sure you're feeling it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. One more set. Our rest time starts now. Our rest time starts now. Walk around. We have 15 more seconds to go. 15 more seconds. Time's up. The last set on that leg. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. The other leg. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well done. Your rest time starts now. Five more seconds. And time's up. So our next workout, you're still going to sit on this stool, alright? Just so upright and hold this leg here, moving it straight like that. 1. Alright, so we are going to do, make sure your back is straight though. We're going to do 20. When you go this side and this side is 1, you're going to do 20 on each leg. That is one set. So we're going to do 3 sets. Let's start. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 more. 1, 2, hold it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ouch, you felt that one? I did. I don't know if you did, but hold it stiff, straight. Don't fold your leg. Make sure it's absolutely straight, as straight as you can. Let's go on the other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. We have to do the other leg. It was resting anyway, right? Yeah, so while we were doing 20 here, this other one was resting. So why need rest time anyway? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, keep going, 8, 9, 10. Let's go, the other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, keep going. 3, 4, 5, keep going, don't drop. 8, 9, 10. Well done, well done. One more set, one more set, one more set. Hit them, hit them, hit them, hit them. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Well done. We have the last side. You did well so far. So let's kill it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, hold it up, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Well done, well done. You did amazing, you did amazing. If you held throughout, you have absolutely taken control of your day. My name is Evelyn Noala of Eval Health and Fitness, EVEAL, Eval Health and Fitness, on Instagram, Twitter, or on Facebook. You can catch up for more workout tips. Have a lovely day. You did amazing. Bye-bye.
As a news director, you also need to put a lot of consideration when it comes to preventing the spread of the coronavirus, especially here in the All right. Yes, and I think that's what I learned. When you do get a sneeze or you feel like coughing, take a tissue paper, put it on your mouth and in front of your nose and sneeze into it, then roll it down and throw it in your trash can.
Kwani hao wengine wako wapi?
Faster.
Guys, I just woke up to this. Can you imagine? My babe.
My lovely Sylvie.
The Maldives is not that far from Nairobi, so it's just a matter actually of...
Did you know there's a laundry bar soap that can help save you time, water, and money? You save by not having to use multiple products. And you only rinse once. For a laundry soap that can help save you time, water, and money, try Whitewash Extra. Brand power, helping you buy better.
This is NTV.
Greetings, East Africa, and thank you for joining us on yet another episode of Your World. Now, we all know donkeys, have seen them around, or even used them for one thing or another. Now, did you know that the donkey population in Kenya is dwindling and could be extinct by 2023? Yep, this is the reality these beasts of burden, which are a source of livelihood for many Kenyan households, face. We talk to experts to understand why and how you can be part of safeguarding donkeys for livelihoods. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and this is what else you can expect on Your World. Today we focus on the welfare of animals, and in this case, donkeys. The world-famous German baby pandas, which are almost extinct, are now a year old. Donkeys need protection, however, there is a whole business or industry behind it. What is the current situation? We find out in a few. Indians who are facing loneliness adopt stray dogs to keep them company during this pandemic. Thank you for joining us on this broadcast. Before we get to understand the welfare of donkeys, let's take a look at the effects of COVID-19 around the world. The figures this morning stand at 27,734,748 people confirmed to have COVID-19. 19,828,485 people have totally recovered from the same, and unfortunately those who have succumbed to COVID-19 stands at 901,858 people. Well, these are the global figures. Let's take a look at the Kenyan context, and 35,356 people are confirmed to have COVID-19. 21,483 of these have totally recovered, and 599 have unfortunately succumbed to the same. Remember, COVID-19 is still with us, and it is imperative that you actually keep yourself safe and from contracting this virus. Now, let's take a look at some of the stories making headlines this Wednesday morning. And scores of white cattle poured into the village for their only drink of water of the day. Soon they will wander miles back across the semi-desert of northern Senegal in search of sparse yellow stubs poking through the sand. There is no water, there is no pasture, says Adama Harder, whose 100 cattle heads of cattle rather is his lifeblood in his native Pular. The 56-year-old is one of the thousands of semi-nomadic Fulani pastoralists who have been stuck in Senegal's Louga region in the Sahel since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic. Months of government restrictions on movement designed to curb the virus have coincided with the hardest months of the dry season. Away from that, Bangladeshi dog lovers took to the streets of the capital, Dhaka, to protest the relocation of up to 30,000 strays, saying the move violates the country's animal welfare laws. Chanting relocation is illegal and holding placards with the words "Dogs' Lives Matter," more than 100 animal rights campaigners gathered outside the office of Dhaka's mayor to call for the policy to be reversed. Now, relocation will lead to their mass starvation and the deaths of thousands of dogs, and this is according to the head of the opposed animal welfare group. Now, with the world having marked the International Day in August, we meet some of the growing number of people across India to have adopted man's best friend to cope with the loneliness inflicted by the coronavirus pandemic. India is home to an estimated 30 million stray dogs, and animal activists have long encouraged people to adopt so-called mixed breed street dogs known as Desi or Indie.
At least now that we are in tier 1 cities away from our families, we are very independent, right? We hardly have any responsibilities on us. But when we get a life to take care of, we become responsible, we become sympathetic, we become empathetic. And with COVID, this is actually also providing them a lot of comfort. A lot of people were stuck, outside their homes, and they started developing anxiety, depression. And a pet just helps in that. It helps them a lot. Earlier, the set of people who wanted to adopt dogs were way less because they could not adopt dogs. But now they can. Most of the companies in India have already told that they're going to be doing work from home till coming March. So they're very comfortable at home, which is why the number of people who are capable of adopting dogs now has increased, which is very good for, pets who were initially abandoned during COVID. And we have a lot of Indian stray puppies who need homes.
When the lockdown was open partially, people were rushing and coming to take puppies. And even for the month of August, that is, for 16 days, we got 68 puppies on record adopted. that is a very good number of puppies being adopted because there's no public transport. So there's lots of difference. People feel fine when they have a pet at home. You know, you have to care for it. You have to give him a bath. You have to take him for a walk. You have to play with him, and he has also a lot of demands from you. So he keeps you going.
And to the focus of our conversation this morning, the race to restart and revive the once lucrative donkey meat industry in Baringo has commenced. This follows a moratorium ordered by the government to stop the slaughtering of donkeys and export of their products before revoking licenses of 4 existing slaughterhouses in the country. As a result, hundreds of residents, particularly 400 youth who had been directly employed by the firm, have been left jobless. The donkey slaughtering industry had previously been established following the amendment of the Meat Control Act in 2012 to classify donkeys and horses as food animals with the aim of exporting the meat to international markets last year. Now, last year, the Africa Network for Animal Welfare, Brook East Africa, Network of Donkey Owners and Alliance of Donkey Welfare Organizations in Kenya, in collaboration with the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organizations, also called for a ban on the export of donkey skin. Stakeholders and residents in the area are now calling for the lifting of the moratorium.
Tuko na kama factory wanne hapa Kenya ambayo wanafanya hii biashara ya kuchinja punda, lakini kwanza ya magoto ni kubwa kwa wale wote, na juzi walipata hata kotini, walisema wanaweza endelea na biashara yao. Sasa ile bado wanaangalia hizi malalamishi ya wale walienda kuambia waziri usimamishe maneno ya kuchinja punda.
And to help us understand the welfare of donkeys, in studio with me, Elijah Mithigi, who is a programs manager, Brook East Africa. Virtually, we are joined by Leonard Gishuho Kagwe, who is the founder and member of the Kikuyu and Kiambu Donkey Owners Association. We are also joined by Dr. Samantha Opere, who is a veterinary officer and project manager at the Kenya Network for Dissemination of Agricultural Technologies, and also joined virtually by Titus Sagala, who is the country director, Senda Cow Kenya. Thank you all for joining us on this conversation. And Elijah, will start off with you. We've just mentioned that the African Network for Animal Welfare cites that donkeys will be extinct in Kenya by 2023. Why so?
Thank you, Gladys, for having us. And it's a big debate. It has been quite a big debate since 2016. When the slaughterhouses were licensed in Kenya. But this runs back, quite way back, to the 90s, when there was a lot of issues around use of what we call a jiao. It's a gelatin that is found in donkey skin. And it's mainly for Chinese medicine, this traditional medicine, and also beauty products that our ladies wear.
Okay.
And so the market for the skin, for the donkey skin, became a global boom. And just to give you some statistics and figures, the donkey population in China has reduced by 76% since those 90s to current because of that demand. And there is need for 4.8 million skins every year, annual demand to meet the demand for these AGL products. And so China started looking elsewhere and to fill that gap. And they came to Africa, and they came to Kenya back in 2016. And this is when the licensing of the 4 slaughterhouses was done. And as the history has it, we have seen an offtake, a huge offtake of our donkeys. And for the last 3 years, since 2016 to 2018, about 15% of our donkeys have been cleared to meet this demand. So the big debate is it sustainable? And these are facts that are there. And thankfully to the government, we have been in a lot of engagement, and they realize this is not sustainable. And many other governments, by the way, have also banned in Africa, including Ethiopia, our neighbors, who have about 9 million population. Ours is partly 1.8. You can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is why we are facing at extinction by 2023 if status are not changed, and if this ban is not upheld and implemented. Yes.
Okay, so according to the census that was carried out in 2019, I hear that number has drastically reduced to 600,000.
Yeah.
Okay, which puts us at a very, very precarious situation. Let me bring in Leonard Gishoho. What is the situation like in the region that you represent? Leonard? Kindly unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, now, yes, we can. Yes,
The situation. Okay, the situation in Kiambu County, where I represent, things are not good. So many people have suffered in the hands of legal and mostly illegal slaughter, bush slaughtering, whereby donkeys are stolen at night and they are taken to the bush and they are slaughtered. So many people have lost their livelihood because of this slaughter. You'll find instances whereby people who fully dependent on donkey for their livelihood, they are now go looking for odd jobs. People who have been able to employ themselves for years and years, they cannot be able to feed their family. So things on the ground from where I sit, they are not good. People are suffering. We were happy since Minister Honorable Munya, he banned the export and the slaughtering of donkeys, but later on it was revoked by the court. There's a court case going on, so we hope for the best. But in Kiambu County, we have lost a number of donkeys that cannot be even counted because every day we used to report more than 20 cases a day, whereby you find, for example, from where I represent my local area, Kikuyu, there was a night that we lost more than 10 donkeys. Those are 10 families that were left without a livelihood. So from where I sit, things are not good.
Okay, and approximately what's the population of donkeys in that region?
Before the slaughtering of donkeys, we had the most number of donkeys in the central region. In the census that was made in 2009, where the donkey population was more than 1 billion, Kiambu counties covered like a quarter of it. So we were around like 300,000 donkeys going up. But right now, as we speak, there are less than 50,000 donkeys, less than 50,000 donkeys, because right now sometimes we are unable to even do the census because or put into details, because every now and then, every day you find a case that you find a case whereby someone lost his donkey, to a point that it's too much, because you'll find that someone has gone to somewhere in the forest, maybe to look for fodder for his animals, and when he's doing his things there, all of a sudden he suddenly realizes he only have a donkey cart. The donkey is gone. So that is how things are from where I sit.
Okay, let's bring in Dr. Samantha Opere. There has been reports that cross-border trade has also fed into this donkey slaughter and, of course, theft of the same. What is the situation on the ground?
Okay. For the cross-border smuggling, if you're keen on the type of donkeys we have in Kenya, most of our donkeys tend to be gray, and we have Somali and Maasai. So some of them you might find they have stripes on their legs, and the rest are just generally gray. So when the cross-border smuggling began, we began seeing donkeys that are not normally in Kenya. So we found a lot of black donkeys. We have a few, but now the number of black donkeys were more. Black donkeys are more common in Tanzania. And then we had ivory donkeys. Ivory would be what a normal person would call white. So white donkeys or ivory donkeys are mostly found in Ethiopia. So when the smuggling began, we had an increase of these other types of donkeys that are not normally here. The other thing we noticed, some diseases that are not common in Kenya started coming up a lot. So we found that it's hard to actually pinpoint where the disease came in, where the donkeys are coming in, because the rumors were that donkeys were being smuggled through unmarked border points and then being loaded into lorries and sent to the various slaughterhouses. Again, you can't really trace who is selling to who, but the eventual destination for most of these donkeys were the slaughterhouses.
And Titus, you join us from Sendakau, Kenya. Question is, what does a guy from Sendakau have to do with donkeys?
Gladys, and thank you for having me on the show. Sendakau is an organization that works with communities to look at their livelihoods. We are called Sendakau because that is how we started. Somewhere in 1988, there was this war in Uganda that was just ending. So farmers in the UK supported poor families in Uganda by sending cows from UK to Uganda. But it has grown from that into a livelihood project where we are not just looking at cows, but we are looking at the farm systems. So when you look at the farm systems, you are looking at the whole farm, which means the crops, the people on the farm, the animals, and everything on the farm. So donkeys are really part of the farm system. That's why Sendakau has something to do with donkeys.
Okay.
So we are working with communities to provide them with skills and support to unlock their compassion for the donkeys so that they can feel the benefits that these donkeys bring to their livelihoods.
Now, we're talking a lot about benefits, social economic impact of the dwindling population of donkeys. Elaborate that for us, Titus.
Yes, donkeys are very important component in the farm systems for the livelihoods of the people. You will find that donkeys that they do a lot, but they are not really appreciated. When you talk about farm produce, we work in an area like Mount Elgon, which is a very productive area, the Mount Elgon area. This produces a lot of food, and no vehicle can go deep into the mountainside to bring the harvest so that it can reach to the people. In drier areas like Homa Bay and Turkana, the donkeys are very resilient. They are the animals that go to far places to fetch water so that people can have their clean water and domestic water. And that is especially so in this COVID situation, where water is a very important subject we are speaking about, cleanliness, sanitation. Donkeys are also used for plowing in areas like Homa Bay. My friend has just talked about the cats in Kiambu.
Yeah.
And then donkeys are also in Turkana. You have seen how they are utilized by the pastoral communities. During the conflict, like in Mao, you saw recently, all those goods were being transported by donkeys because essentially these are the animals that the people are using to transport their goods. But as I've said, their value is actually they are undervalued because people don't look at donkeys. They say it's just a donkey anyway.
Okay. Now, Elijah, we are talking about safeguarding the welfare of donkeys, and most would wonder, what do you mean exactly, welfare of donkeys?
I think as my colleagues have talked about the importance of this animal and how it contributes to livelihoods, I think it's only fair to take care of that asset because it's a God-given asset. And so when we talk about caring for donkey, it's what welfare is about. And we don't really talk about rights in our context because we appreciate that these animals, especially donkeys, horses, and mules, are for work in the poor countries. They are used for work, and so you can't say don't use the donkey. That's the right narrative. The welfare narrative is about, yes, use the animal, use this asset for your livelihood, for domestic shows, and also for income, but also take care of it, give back to it. So we really talk about husbandry, proper husbandry, proper feeding, rest, and treatment. For example, when the animal is sick. So when you look at donkeys, we have this beast of burden connotation, and it has been that a donkey, the Asante Apuda ni Mateke thing, and because of that, we really treat the donkey honestly very badly, very inhumanely, and as much as it is such a darling, you know, especially to women. If you look at Maasai women, they cannot survive in terms of fetching water without the donkey. And granted to them, they really take care of the donkeys. And so this is what we really mean about when we talk about welfare. So welfare is giving back to this creature, and it has feelings, it is sentient, it is like us. So when you take a whip and really beat the donkey without a reason, so these are the inhumane practices that we try to help the communities, the owners, you know, to move from. And also in our, like, let me talk about veterinary services, and my colleague, maybe Dr. Samantha, will talk more about that. You find in our context, even veterinary doctors don't know how to treat donkeys because it is not in the curriculum. You can see those gaps. And that is what we have been trying to fill together with the government to say, hey, as a vet, when you go to a homestead, as you attend to the cow and to the chicken and to the pigs, there is a donkey in that homestead. So please treat it. And you will find a lot of donkeys abandoned, either because they have injuries or because they have some sicknesses. You will also find communities which have these myths that when a donkey gets sick, it doesn't get healed. There is no cure, there is no treatment. So they abandon it and leave it to die. So these are the myths we try to really debunk.
Yes. Now, Samantha, is it true that some vets do not even know how to treat a donkey?
Yes. If I give my own example, I went through 5 years of vet school, and at no point in time did I touch a donkey, but I graduated. So the first time I ever touched a donkey was in 2013 when I joined the Brook project with an organization in Kisumu. So basically, most of us go through university without having any direct handling of equines because the number of hours allocated even to the horses are not many. So most of the focus is we should focus on cattle, poultry, maybe pigs, things that are usually mostly for animal protein production.
Yes.
And not really working animals or racehorses. So most of us leave university or the technical institutions with mainly with knowledge armed for production animals. So cattle, pigs, poultry. The rest is if you have interest, then you find yourself drawn to a particular species. So maybe you go into small animals like dogs, or you'll focus on the large animals like cattle. So depending on now how life throws you in the field, then you find your area of interest and then get the information you need on treatment of those animals.
So over the years, has the status of the same changed in the institutions of learning to actually give a voice and an audience to these donkeys?
Yeah, so in the recent past, we've been working with the different institutions like Ahiti Kabete, Nyahururu, Ndomba, and the University of Nairobi. So we started by giving guest lectures, which would mainly focus on first including more content in terms of animal welfare into the curriculum, and then also giving guest lectures and internship opportunities for potential veterinary professionals to have some field experience in donkey health and health management. Recently, the Kenya Veterinary Board has reviewed the curriculum to include more animal welfare content. So we are progressing well in terms of including more donkey and animal welfare information within the curriculum for the new vet.
Now, still talking about donkey welfare, Leonard, is mistreatment of these animals by their owners or the users also feeding into the numbers of those that we see dying and also contributing to the dwindling population?
Okay, I didn't get you right, but I think you were talking about the mistreat of donkeys, right?
Yes.
Okay, when we speak about mistreat, I think we should be understood as donkey owners, because when people maybe sometimes say that we mistreat, they only see us on the road beating this donkey. But I want them to know that most of the time it's not beating, but it's controlling the animal so that it can go to the direction that you want it to go. Especially in urban setup, we mostly follow traffic rules, and an animal sometimes doesn't really know which side to go or which way to or how to take a roundabout. So you have to use a stick. You have to beat it to show it that this is the right way. And tomorrow, a donkey has a very sharp memory that goes up to 25 years. So once you beat it today, you don't need to beat it tomorrow in order for it to take a roundabout or to stop when the red lights are on. But they compare us sometimes with people in Gishagi, because you hear sometimes that people say that our donkey in shags, we just put water on the cart and then it takes itself home. But remember, there are no vehicles there. There are rarely children crossing the road. So why do you need to beat the donkey? But for us in town, we have some time to take just a few strokes in order for it to do. I didn't get the entire question, but
now,
I think
the
I've
other part
touched
of
on.
that question was, is mistreatment of these donkeys also feeding to the dwindling numbers of this population?
I don't think so, because donkeys actually way back in 90s, for example, if I can give an example of Rimuru town and Mwea town, those were the places that the mistreatment of donkeys was on the rise. I mean, people used to beat donkeys using some rubber sticks, but the number was still increasing. So the mistreatment, I don't seem to understand or to buy really that word mistreatment, is not part of the decline. And a donkey is a hard animal. It can handle a difficult situation and still be able to give birth and to work. So for us, when you say mistreating animals, it's not really mistreating. There are some people that go to an extent of, for example, my friend in the studio said about beating the donkey without a reason. So a donkey is not beaten all the time. You cannot find someone who have tied a donkey on a tree and beating it. That is now what we call mistreatment. But when we are giving it direction, you have to use a stick. You have to direct it. So mistreatment of donkeys and the decline, they're not going together.
Okay, Titus, let me bring you in on this one. Even as you work with the different farmers and families in the community settings, do you see some, when we talk about mistreatment, apart from beating the animal, there's also what Elijah talked about, not catering for its needs, taking it to the vet, giving it the right foods, and what have you. Does this contribute to the dwindling population?
Now, first of all, there are two cases here. We have donkey owners and the donkey users. Donkey owners, the people who own the donkeys, it's their property, and some of the users are people who rent them. When you look at the donkey owners, they treat their animals more humanely. When you look at users who do not, some of the users don't treat the animals really well. But we as Send a Cow and as Brook Partners, we are training farmers to be humane to the animals. We have seen many animals not being treated when they are sick. We have seen animals having tools that are not appropriate for their use, such that when they are carrying goods, they get cuts, they get wounds which are not treated. And these are the things that we are working with the farmers to see that they are improving. We are also working with the farriers. Farriers are people who take good care of the feet for the donkeys. And we have trained them so that they know how to trim the feet well, because these are a very important part of the body. And then part of the decline for the donkeys is because whereas they are being slaughtered for this massive trade and being stolen, donkeys are also difficult breeders. A donkey pregnancy takes 12 to 14 months. And so their multiplication is very slow. We have seen that the growth rate for donkeys in this country is actually 1%, according to the research done by Carlo in 2017. And yet they were being slaughtered at the rate of 5%. So you see growth of 1% versus 5%, it means that the decline will continue. Recently, we just visited the Archbishop of the Anglican Church of Kenya, His Grace Ole Sapit, and he told us that he has about 8 donkeys, and they have remained almost 8 from the very time he started rearing them. So when we talked about it, their breeding and so on, he now also understood how the growth is not as much as the farmed animals like cattle.
Okay. Now, Elijah, coming back to the slaughtering of this animal, now the amendment of the Meat Control Act in 2012 to classify donkeys, horses as food animals with the aim of exporting the meat to international markets is something that is seen to have exacerbated the situation. So would you say this is when the rain started to beat us?
Exactly, Gladys. You see, when this act was passed, it was for the purpose of controlling and making sure there is sanity, because there was a lot of bush slaughter. And you may know that some communities eat donkeys as a delicacy, like Turkana.
Yes.
In fact, they have some, rural slaughterhouses there. And so it was for that purpose, not for export. Not for export. But then that opened the can of worms. And I think it was deliberate to give room for slaughter for export. So this is where the rain started beating us. And honestly, there was no proper due diligence done by the time of licensing the slaughterhouses to ask, do we have breeding programs in place? And maybe my colleague will talk about how difficult breeding of donkeys is.
Yes.
Even the 4 slaughterhouses have tried, they have not managed. They have not had any breeding program. There was no due diligence to talk about the transportation, to talk about the sourcing of these animals. Also to talk about the threshold, because you see, as my colleagues has talked about, we are slaughtering 5%, and the growth rate is 1%. So there was no even control of how many donkeys should be slaughtered vis-a-vis what population is available to make sure that we safeguard the population. Because I think that is the cardinal rule, that you cannot clear what you have, you're not producing. Yes, so I would say that is where we opened the can of worms without really thinking deeply about it. But thankfully, the government has called itself to a reflection. And this is when we started the conversation back in 2018 when Carol did the report to ask those very difficult questions. And it was out of that then that the CS said, let's have a ban. And I think this is where we are now, of course, with the challenges of implementing it.
All right. Now, Samantha, the 4 abattoirs licensed to slaughter donkeys were instructed by the minister to actually transform their slaughterhouses to handle cows, sheep, and chicken. Is this the reality on the ground?
At the moment, no, because they have cases in court. So if they were to have changed their slaughterhouses to slaughter other animals, then there would be no need for court cases at the moment. So for them, they feel that the ban that the minister put in was unfair for the level of investment that they had made to set up the 4 slaughterhouses here. So if they were really willing to see the slaughter of other animals within their facilities, then they would not really need to have slaughter cases in court for that reason.
So we are saying there is a case in court to challenge the banning of slaughtering donkeys, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, for Leonard, I would like to understand, there are those who say there is the other side of this coin. You ban the slaughtering of this, you also take away livelihoods in terms of the jobs given to the youth who are working in these slaughterhouses. So how do you balance this two?
I think I have a bit of problem with the sound, but you're asking about balancing between slaughtering and livelihood?
Yes, because we are saying.
Oh, got you now. So, okay, if you look at what the country is getting, all the benefits from slaughtering the donkeys is not equivalent is not equivalent to letting the donkey just live the way it used to live before. Because when it comes to bleeding of donkey, this is an investment whereby it's unsustainable. You cannot sustain the supply of donkeys in Kenya, or rather in the whole world. You cannot. If donkeys was to be slaughtered, just like my friend said, by 2022, 2023, we'll not be having any donkey in the whole world. I don't think in the whole world or in Kenya we'll be having any donkey. The question that we are supposed to ask ourselves, what about those people, me being one of them and so many other Kenyans, that are using this donkey as a way of livelihood? Where are we going to leave them? Yes, the people have invested in the slaughterhouses. People have been employed there. But if you go to those slaughterhouses, maybe there are like 20 to 30 people who are employed there. But if you go outside the street, the people that are better on the donkeys are more than like 300 to 300 compared to the number of the people employed in the slaughterhouses. So if you compare the two, there's no comparison. Even I don't want to get into tax matters, but even if you talk to the experts, those people who know much about the price and the skin, because the price of the skin here in Kenya is not is not the same price that that is in China. When it goes to China, it's higher. So yes, there are people who have been employed by these slaughterhouses. They have families. They are doing good in their job places. But what are the people? What about that woman who his or her donkey, that man who his donkey was stolen and now is left without a livelihood? In order to sustain two, three people to remain in their jobs. So there's no comparison. There's no comparison. This thing
Titus.
has
Okay. Titus, let me understand something. Are we saying we cannot find a balance as to how we can continue to breed this animal and also still give leeway for the trade or in skin?
Yes, Gladys. It's hard to find that balance. Look at it this way. China had over 11 million donkeys a few years ago. And because this trade in Agile has a big demand of around 4.8 million donkey skins every year, they decimated their populations from 11 million. Right now, they have just under 4 million. And you know, China has technology that it's more advanced than us, for instance. They have tried the farming of the donkeys, but they are not able to farm them as well as breed them enough for their trade. For the families here in Kenya, it's also not easy to find that balance because, as we've already told you, donkeys are really very hard breeders. They don't breed easily, and that will even be more difficult if they are farmed because they'll be restricted in an area, yet they are companion animals. So as Elijah had said, if we are looking at slaughtering donkeys for meat, that one was allowed in the traditional aspects of like the Turkana people, where the donkeys are delicacy. But when now we start mass slaughtering, this is where we have a problem and where we are not seeing any balance as of now, because the demand is just too big.
Okay, and let's talk to the vet in the room. Samantha, when we talk about the breeding being difficult to do, are there technologies, I don't know, ways of making sure that this can be done and probably hastened to help out in safeguarding people's livelihoods, but also keeping this creature amongst us longer than 2023?
Okay, let me start by just putting into perspective how many donkeys we would need annually for the trade. So a study was done by the University of Reading and found that in 2013, the demand for Ijao was about 3,000 tons. In 2016, it had gone up to 5,000 tons. 5,000 tons goes to what Elijah had mentioned of 4.8 million donkey skins. 4.8 million donkey skins means we need 19 million donkeys. Currently, the world population of donkeys doesn't reach that particular number, noting that China had the highest donkey population, which was about 11 million, and their population is now down to under 4, as Titus had mentioned. So because they've come to look for donkeys in Africa and South America, and the donkeys are still not enough, then there's now the need to look into the possibility of using breeding technologies to improve the breeding rate of donkeys. Unfortunately, donkeys are They are special in so many ways, even in their way of breeding. So donkeys are seasonal breeders. So that means it's hard to get them to focus on breeding at a particular moment. The other thing for African donkeys are mainly used for work. So it means whatever food they consume will first go to the energy they need for work, and then now go to the energy they need for reproduction. That's why you find most of the time our donkeys don't breed as fast as they should, because they don't have enough energy for both working and breeding. So that's why we have a growth rate of 1%. The other option would be to farm the donkeys. So we have a big farm and put donkeys, and all they do is eat and breed. This has been tried in China. And fortunately, there's minimal success because first, donkeys are mostly built for arid areas. So they're used to being in semi-hot areas, and they're used to being free to roam as they please. Additionally, by having them in a confined area, study has shown that they have a tendency to develop a condition which makes them, it's called hyperlipemia, which basically they get fat droplets lodged in their blood vessels. So this eventually has an impact on the reproduction. The other thing would be to use artificial insemination, which is done in cattle. But for donkeys, there's been a lot of challenges in terms of preserving the semen that is produced. Another study was done, and it showed that depending on the stallion, the ability to freeze his semen would vary. So you can freeze it, but when you need to use it, it's not viable. So that was the challenge with that. And then because if we give Kenya as an example, we don't have the facilities for donkey semen preservation, because you need a cold chain to keep it. You'd also need ultrasonography facilities, because you need to closely monitor the pregnancy as it goes along. There's a rumor that slaughterhouses, they can shorten the breeding time of donkeys. The gestation period is between 11 to 14 months. So the idea was to shorten this time so that the donkeys breed every year like cattle do. But if this technology of shortening gestation period has not been discovered in humans, how then will we discover it in donkeys?
I hear you, Daktari. I hear you, Daktari. And Elijah, just picking up from what some of Samantha's points are alluding to, why can't we do large-scale farming of donkeys here then? Why can't we get homegrown solutions?
Gladys, that has been tried. In fact, that was one of the conditionalities that was put for the slaughterhouses. And I remember, especially like one in Naivasha, they had said they have some 10,000 acres or somewhere of land, and that has not happened. And it boils back to what Samantha has talked about. It is extremely very challenging, and that has come out in China. And for China to look Africa, to look South America for sourcing, it's because they have really tried this breeding.
But we have the ideal weather conditions for these animals.
Probably yes. I am not very much into the science of that.
Yeah.
But I think what we are struggling with currently is a situation where the systems have not been established in advance. If this was to be foreseen, for example, let's say we want to start this export for donkeys in 10 years, and you establish those systems now and trial them and pilot them and test them, see whether it works before you give it a go, before systems go. Now, we climb the tree from the top. This is what happened. So I wish, and I think a lot of research will continue happening and will continue going, and I think that is very much welcome. That is very much welcome. But before we get there, I think let's put the systems in place. Let's trial, let some of those slaughterhouses come together, say, yes, we are stopping the slaughter, until we see how breeding works. The other day they were talking about we have in our breeding yard we have 300 donkeys. We have brought about 300 donkeys. 300 donkeys, they clear them in a day. And I think this is something they have put for 6 months. So you put a breeding program for 6 months to clear in a day, it is extremely not sustainable. So it would be a great idea to establish those big farms first. We see how it works. We try, we test. Once it works, I think everybody will be happy. Yes, and we will have our donkeys. The owners will have donkeys to use for work and livelihoods, and China will have donkeys for their AGL.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And Leonard, is this something that you have been brainstorming amongst the Owners Association in the Central Region about large-scale farming for donkeys?
Yes, it has been in our discussion for quite some time. But every time that we're about to come into a conclusion, we always go back to the question, what about if we start doing this large scale or breeding of donkeys? Because for us, it's possible. Because it's just a matter of giving our farmers a female donkey, one each. And for us, we'll be able to increase the number. Sorry for that. But we have been educating farmers on how to safeguard their donkeys, first of all. Because if you go back to the 90s and early 2000s, donkeys were just left on the road. Actually, there was no shelter for donkeys at homes. The place that belongs to the donkeys is on the road. You'd find a donkey being tied somewhere for 3-4 days. When they need it, you just go and tie it, use it, and then take it back. But we have somehow been able to educate our members on the importance of this animal to make sure that it has a proper shelter, to make sure that it is well fed, well kept, and to always keep close eye. You always make sure that you know where your donkey is. But when things stabilize, we have a plan on how that we as farmers can be able to buy donkeys, buy females, especially female donkeys, give them to farmers. Let me not use the word farmers. Let me use the right word, donkey users. Those people who are using donkeys, we give them a female donkey each. And if you give 10 people 10 female donkeys, by the end of the year we'll have 10 donkeys. In another 1, 2, 3 years we'll have another 10. We'll have another, so they'll keep multiplying as numbers goes by. But we always go back to the question, what if these guys come for our donkeys? So in order for the donkey breeding program, first of all, to work out well, the first thing that should be done is that the slaughtering of donkeys should be completely banned. So as for us as donkey users, because just as like my friend have said, there is no donkey lunch in Kenya. You cannot keep 300 donkeys in one place and expect them to breed. Donkeys are animals that were meant for traveling. They were meant for hardship areas. So you cannot lock them in one place. But for us as donkey users, we have a way of making sure that these things are, can be able to multiply in years to come.
Okay, now your world is an arena to learn every day, and I'm learning a lot in as far as the donkey welfare is concerned. When we come back, we talk about the solutions that should be put in place, because I mean, at the end of the day, there's a law of supply and demand. So how can we ensure that we are able to balance this out? Stay with us.
As we take personal responsibility and adhere to all government regulations and guidelines in relation to coronavirus, may we remember that God is faithful. He will not allow us to be pressed, crushed, and perplexed by the epidemic to a point of total destruction. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 9 teaches us that we may be hard pressed on every side, but shall not be crushed. We can be persecuted, but shall not be abandoned. We can be struck down, but shall not be destroyed.
This week on Lit 360.
I have a very strong relationship with my fans.
So you're married to the music?
I'm married to the music.
Your art?
Not right now, but
Yeah.
probably I might walk out of this place with a wife.
Okay.
Dancehall has even borrowed a lot from Afrobeats. So the footwork has even become a lot quicker. So you see a lot more guy crews. This is something you didn't really see.
Get your back leg fired up, strong. Now reach, extend your hands way up and go back. Low push-up, hands down, step back.
Yoga is believed to help reduce the risk of non-communicable diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, and respiratory diseases. It is one exercise that caters for your mind, body, and soul.
Positive vibes to you, light and peace. Namaste.
Taught us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we should keep cleanliness. Actually, he said that cleanliness is what is best for a Muslim. And from him, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hand washing, which is part of cleanliness, hand washing, that we wash our hands, we wash our faces, we wash every time with soap. This is part of what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja. Today we're talking about the welfare of donkeys and really how to safeguard the same so that we also safeguard the livelihoods that are entangled with the same. With me in studio, Elijah Mithige, who is a programs manager, Brook, East Africa, Leonard Gishuho Kagwif, joining us virtually. He's a founder and member of the Kikuyu and Kiambu Donkey Owners Association, Dr. Samantha Opere, who is a veterinary officer and project manager at Kendant, and Titus Sagala, who is a country director at Senda Cow, Kenya. Thank you all for staying with us. Now, Titus, quick one. We have talked about safeguarding these animals and also understanding how these animals need to live beyond 2023. But somebody is asking, when it comes to food security and it's part of the menu, what happens? How do we now balance the two? Kindly unmute your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, as we already said, that donkeys play a very big role in the farm systems, and food security is one of them. Now, we are working with farmers to ensure that the welfare of the donkeys is good. People are also asking us, what about old sick donkeys, and can't they be used? But as you know, the populations are low, and for issues of food security, actually, the donkeys are what is making the donkey owners and users food secure. They are able to till the land. They are able to produce some of the manure that is used on the land for the crops. They are able to transport the food to the market for the income, so that whatever the farmers are not able to plant on their farms but they need to eat can be able to buy, like fish and so on. So there's a big balance when we are saying that donkeys need to be taken good care of, and not to be slaughtered en masse for the issues of food security in the farm.
Okay, and the banning of donkeys, maybe you can clarify this. Does it cover even domestic slaughtering?
As Elijah said, our concern was the mass slaughter for export. But you already know that in Turkana, donkeys are, there are small slaughterhouses, traditional houses for donkey meat. Those ones, we are not talking about that, because that has always been there and does not affect the population of donkeys. In fact, it's part of the life of the people. So that's not what we are talking about. That can continue.
Okay, there are people who have said they have eaten a samosa or two of donkey meat, so that is in order?
Perhaps they ate without knowing, and this donkey may have actually been slaughtered in the bush. So that may not be in order unless they were eating knowingly and it was inspected by a public health official. Yeah, so we don't want people to eat what they don't know and they don't like.
All right. Now, back in studio, Elijah, we're talking about the dwindling numbers of donkeys not being a unique issue to Kenya. It's a global situation. And I keep hearing China coming up over and over again. So is it a situation where we need to move this conversation from the Kenyan context and into the international scene to ensure that we deal with this mass demand from China?
Exactly, Gladys. And I think this is a conversation that is going on, actually. And and let me give an example of a conference we held back in November, a regional conference, Africa Regional Conference on donkey trade, specifically. And we had international representation to this discourse. And here we were looking at, we collaborated very closely with AUIBA. AUIBA is the bureau that is in charge of animal resources, the wing of AU. And so all the member states have supported this conversation, really, to say, because many countries in Africa have been affected, from Nigeria, which banned, Burkina Faso banned, Ethiopia banned. Tanzania is struggling a bit. Currently, they have 2 slaughterhouses. And Brook East Africa, by the way, we cover all these, most of these countries, like Tanzania as well. So we are still having the same conversation in Tanzania, because now our donkeys may be safeguarded, but they may find their way to Shinyanga, which is a slaughterhouse in Tanzania. So it's, and we have talked about cross-border smuggling from Ethiopia, as Samantha was talking about. So this is an international conversation. It is a regional conversation. So we have been in those discussions with IGAD, with AUIBA, and trying to profile and put this situation, this conversation, to the global map and to China specifically. We also have our headquarters offices in London, and they have been really looking at how do we approach this from China. Can China know the kind of damage they are doing to the rural poor communities, like in Africa and in South America. And a very critical organization in this conversation is OIE. OIE is the WHO of animals.
Okay.
Yes, OIE. The acronyms is a bit difficult to pronounce them. So we have this conversation. OIE is based in their Africa region office is based in Nairobi, in fact next to us, so we are also discussing with them. So I would say this is becoming a global discourse as we talk about other trades that China has been, in the mix of, and we are making the donkey skin trade to be part of that conversation. Yes.
Okay, Samantha, let's talk about veterinary services. You said a number of vets do not know how to care for donkeys, but then again, if we are having an issue that is a regional issue, and for us as a country, are these services trickled down to each county to ensure that there is somebody who caters for the population in that county?
Yep. So, like I mentioned, I first touched a donkey in 2013.
Yes.
When I joined a Brook-sponsored project. So what we do as the vet team of within the Brook-sponsored project is we first build our capacity to handle animals, handle donkeys specifically, and then we transfer this information and knowledge to the vets who are already working in the ground. So basically, each county has a government vet and a private vet. So vets are classified as veterinary surgeons and veterinary paraprofessionals, depending on their level of qualification. So what we do is identify all the private paraprofessionals and surgeons within our project areas. And then we give them the training that they require to handle donkey cases. So it's more of a mentorship program where we see who is closest to the donkey owners that we're targeting. And then we build their capacity to handle donkey health cases. And we also go to the field together with them to treat the donkeys that are sick so that they can also gain the confidence that they need to handle donkey cases. By us also going to the field with them, it builds the confidence of the donkey owners within the area to know that this guy, though he comes to treat my cow, he also has the ability to treat my donkey. Because most of the time, an animal owner will tell you, mimi sijaiona daktari wa punda, but if you give him the name of the person you've been working with, it's the same person. So basically, it's just to demystify the fact that the cow vet is also the donkey vet, and they can do both. So it's for the owners to know that donkeys need to be treated. So for owners, we do training on early disease detection, how to tell your donkey is not feeling well today. We usually say donkeys are stoic, which means they don't visibly show signs of sickness until they're very sick.
Okay.
So you need to know, like, if your donkey is twitching a bit in a certain way, maybe today it's not feeling too well and it's time to call the vet.
Okay. And Leonard, you have seen these animals not only as a source of livelihood for you and other owners in the region, but also, made them part and parcel of such great and memorable events in your own life. You got married and you made a spectacle out of it. Talk about that.
Wow, you see,
Leonard?
since we, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Is that you on the donkey cart with your bride?
Yes, that's me with my bride. Oh, yes, lovely, lovely, lovely. Donkeys can create such beautiful, beautiful memories. The reason as to why I decided to use this animal as for my wedding is because it was part and parcel of the preparation of the wedding. When it came to giving out the bride price, when it came out to preparing the wedding, the finances that I got from this animal. Why should I leave it out? It should be part, because actually even now, most of the time, I like 70% of my time I spend it with that animal. Actually, I call it mzee. Yeah, actually, we call it mzee to quickly respond because I have been with it since 2012. 2012. Those are 8 years. 8 years, 70% of my time with it. So it's like a buddy to me. It's like a friend. I actually remember one time I was away for 1 week. When I came back, it actually looked at me and I could tell that it has changed. It's happy now that the body is back. So it had to be part of the wedding. Up now, that's my way of livelihood. So, and that was not the first wedding. That was actually the third wedding that donkey carried the bride. The others were not that much publicized, so not so many people knew about it. But we thank God that you guys were somewhere around, so you were able to cover this thing, and it was all over TV. So a donkey is not only for our live way of livelihood, but it's also a friend. It is also a buddy. It's an animal that it's a social being. It's a social animal, whereby if it sees you, it knows that it has a friend. And I've been able to make my donkey not. I actually don't like the name beast of bad. I call it the beast of blessings, because this animal has been a blessing to my life, and my wife can attest to this.
Oh, wow. It sounds like a family member.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is a family member. Mother, yeah. I actually call it. And I don't like those people who abuse their donkeys, calling all sorts of names. Because I remember way back where I grew up, there was a donkey called Osama. It had all the characters of Osama bin Laden. It actually one day just vanished and just went, and up to date we don't know where it went. It used to be violent. Every time the people in the village, they see it, they just run. So if I call it my mudhe, mudhe is a humble guy, is mzee, a humble mzee, ana mambo mingi. But if you call you as stupid, crazy, whatever, it will behave the same way.
Well said, well said, and interestingly at that. And Titus, I'm curious to understand when it comes to behavioral change, speaking to these communities, making them understand the importance of this animal and the importance of catering for it. Is it something that happens immediately, or it takes time? And do you face resistance from some communities?
Thank you very much. From that passionate presentation, see, there's a quote that says, to the whole world, it may just be a donkey, but to the donkey owner, it's the whole world. So you can just hear from that passionate presentation. Now, attitude change is, in humans, it's something that takes time. So when we are working with the communities, we have a team of experts for us in Sendakau and these other group partners who are social scientists. And when we go out to the communities, we are speaking to them about attitude change. So we have tools that we use like the transformative household methodology, which we use here. And we approach the issues from an angle where it is about their life. It's about the human being, and therefore the change of attitude and how it benefits the family and the community. So the attitude change issues, the change in treatment of animals is something that is slowly coming in. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's something that we keep on training and speaking to the communities.
Samantha, they say in Kiswahili, mtoto mleavyo ndivyo akuavyo. Is this something that probably should be included in the agriculture curriculum or the education curriculum? Samantha?
Oh, please repeat the question.
I was asking, they say how you bring up a child, they will not depart from it. Should these things we're talking about, the welfare of donkeys, be included in the education curriculum to ensure that we have an attitude change right from the children going up?
Yes, it should. For us at Kendat, we have a donkey care club. Basically, we train the pupils from about standard 4 to standard 8. So we take them through what animal welfare is, how to take care of donkeys, so in terms of feeding, watering, how best to work with donkeys so no beating of the donkeys when you're working with it. We've targeted schools that are in areas that have a high donkey population. So you'll find we have some donkey clubs in Mwea and Kiambu. And we usually have the pupils during national events within their area. They present poems and skits on donkey welfare and donkey health. It's another way of having the pupils pass a message to their parents, because if you find yourself being corrected by a child, you feel some sort of shame and you feel the need to change your behavior. So when we train them in the clubs, they go home and tell their parents what they've learned and show them how best to handle their donkeys. Even in the music festivals, I think for 2 years we've sponsored some categories where we've asked pupils to come up with skits and songs on donkey welfare and animal welfare, so that it's something that's they start with it when it's young, so that they know when they grow up they have compassion for animals, not just donkeys, and they're able to share what they know with others who may not have had the information on animal welfare.
Okay, and still on animal welfare, a 23-year-old man from Murang'a has done it again. He actually went ahead and, seeing that he's an untrained wild animal handler, Eston Kimani has for a second time in as many months captured another snake. Kimani's latest capture is a 12-foot python weighing more than 35 kilograms. Our correspondent in the region, Martin Maura, captured Kimani's exploits for this report.
In their hundreds, curious residents gathered to catch a glimpse of a snake that had been spotted along Murang'a Kiriaini Road. The slithering animal is rare in these parts, leave alone a snake handler. The growing crowd was equally anxious and excited. According to the residents, KWS officers had tried for 2 hours to capture the snake before they gave up.
KWS walikuja wakashindwa na kuishika, walikuwa wanataka kuifyatua, lakini wakaaji wakakataa.
When the snake handler arrived, he had no protective gear. That did not stop him from diving into the daring task. As he wrestled the monstrous animal, residents had their phones out trying to capture the capture. He finally managed to grab hold of the reptile's head, while a few others held down the tail. 20 minutes later, the snake was out of the thicket. A heroic display then ensued. The untrained snake handler is now a familiar figure in the area. In June, he traveled on a motorbike for over 10 kilometers, carrying an 8-foot snake that he had captured. He presented the animal to KWS officers in Murang'a.
First of all, unaishika ni mkia. Ukishika mkia, inaanza safari. Venye tu naivuruta nyuma, ndivyo tu inaleta kichwa.
His daunting exploits are telling of what he hopes to become one day, a warden. Murang'a has recently recorded an increase in wildlife-human conflict. Martin Mora, NTV, Murang'a County.
Away from that, massive land subdivision and human activities within the Amboseli Wildlife Circuit pose a big threat to Amboseli National Park in Kajiado County. Over the years, wild animals from Amboseli National Park have been roaming freely within communal ranches. Some ranches provide migratory routes from Amboseli to Tsavo National Park and Chulu Hills National Park. NTV's Judith Cherono filed the details.
Land subdivision has made Amboseli National Park constrained in terms of acreage and now depends on expansive neighboring 6 private conservancies to contain a growing number of wild animals under a mutual agreement with respective conservancy management. What used to be big chunks of land in the form of community ranches continue to be subdivided into private lands. A section of landowners are said to be disposing of their land to developers at an alarming rate.
Tumekuja tena tukatenga sehemu ambayo tumeweka museum ambayo tunataka tufanye kama cultural center ya ecosystem nzima, na tulikuwa tunauliza kama serikali ingewezekana wasaidie hiyo cultural center ama hiyo museum iweze kusaidia community, kwa sababu hiyo serikali ikiweka resources, iwekwe kitu ambayo inaweza kuvutia watalii, itasaidia community pakubwa sana.
So far, National Environment Management Authority (NEMA) has rejected approval of several multi-million agribusiness farms within the circuit. To safeguard the wildlife and tourism in the area, stakeholders have developed the Amboseli Ecosystem Management Plan 2020-2030 that awaits to be enacted into law. The plan is to protect migratory routes. During the recent commemoration of World Elephants Day in Amboseli National Park, Tourism and Wildlife Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala lauded the AEP, saying wildlife conservation is a collective task and promised to gazette it.
So sisi hii Amboseli hainge survive, maana sisi tumeamua kukaa na wanyama na kulinda wanyama, na ndio tunataka pia sisi tuone beneficiary ya wale wanyama tuko na.
Private conservancies management is pushing the Ministry of Tourism to increase financial support to enable them continue conserving wildlife in their lands. KWS usually shares proceedings accrued from tourism with the 6 neighboring private conservancies. The Amboseli Ecosystem Management Plan is an integrated plan that outlines how different land uses and natural resources to promote coexistence in the ecosystem and how it will be managed to benefit all stakeholders. Judith Cherono, NTV.
And to other animals, every first Saturday of September, the world takes some time to consider the ecological importance of a bird of prey that is otherwise mostly dismissed with a shudder, the vulture. Ruth Samways reports on the day that aims to educate a reluctant public on the critical role of the vulture to the well-being of the environment.
It's safe to say that vultures have a pretty bad reputation. These scavengers are traditionally perceived as representing death and decay. Sadly, this stereotype has some negative consequences. The bird, which many find unattractive due to their bald heads, is now under threat. They have been poisoned and killed with little regard to their contribution to the food chain.
Vultures are critical to the ecosystem as they devour carcasses of animals, thus keeping the environment clean and therefore limiting the spread of deadly diseases to other wildlife or even humans.
The birds are said to also aid in catching poachers. The birds first locate the remains that have been left by poachers and they circle above the dead animal before devouring it. Kenya has 8 of 15 species found in the world. 4 species are critically endangered, 2 are endangered, 1 is near threatened, and 1 is of least concern. Besides poisoning, the bird's population is reducing due to habitat fragmentation as a result of the decline in food.
People whose animals were killed by, let's say, lions, they would poison the carcass, and then the vulture eats and becomes collateral damage, then they die.
61% of these vultures are lost due to poisoning, 29% are killed because of traditional medicine, 9% due to electrical infrastructure, and 1% killed for food.
The government says there is need to create awareness on communities living in and around conservation areas on the importance of vultures, that is, nature's garbage collectors, to save them from imminent extinction. Ruth Sarmoy, NTV.
Now, the ravaging effects of a desert locust invasion are being compounded with livestock now lacking pasture in many parts of the country. The Agriculture Ministry now says that Kenya and the wider East Africa region is staring at deteriorated food insecurity due to the effects of the desert locusts. Desert locusts are the world's most destructive migratory pest, with a single swarm capable of traveling up to 90 miles a day and devouring large quantities of food.
As at September 1st, just the other day, more than 10 million people in East Africa region are facing acute food insecurity due to the recent locust plagues that ravaged massive fields of food crops. And it is not only crops. Even the cows lacked pasture. Even the bees, there are those like in Kitui where we get a lot of honey.
One locust swarm of 1 square kilometer can eat the same amount of food in one day as 35,000 people. So it's really massive and show to us what is the threat we have under those circumstances.
Elsewhere, large-scale dairy farming is one of the key economic activities in Tharaka Nithi County. Artificial insemination and the livestock feeds subsidy program introduced in 2017 have increased productivity even for small-scale rural farmers who are now laughing all the way to the bank. Melita Oletenges visited some and now tells the story of success.
Nkabo Village, Tharaka Nithi County, we find Elijah Munene, an artificial insemination officer, readying to administer the reproductive fluid on Elizaphan Gitari's livestock. The advent of devolution brought such services closer for local dairy farmers.
Hapo zamani tulikuwa na zinda sana kwa sababu ukitaka kupandiwa unaitishwa pesa nyingi sana, hata wakati mwingine unarukia kupandiwa wakati ile unafaa.
It's a painstaking process which begins with identification of a proper breed. Farmers here had to be trained on this modern procedure.
Unajua wakati wa zamani hatukuwa tunajua unapandiwa na mbegu aina gani. Unaita mtu akuja kukupandia na kupandia na ile anataka.
In Dagani village, we find another beneficiary of the Tharaka Nithi County AI program. Julius Gitonga flaunts these 2 calves birthed recently.
The production of the milk from the mother to the new calves, it will be a high production.
Meeting the semen demand by farmers for their cattle is essential in dairy farming. Take, for instance, the safe delivery of these 1-month-old twin calves means more milk production, and that translates to more money in the farmer's pockets.
Naweza pata lita 32 ama 35 kwa ng'ombe mmoja. Kwa hivyo faida kwangu ninaona ni mzuri.
The least cost of semen was about 2,000 shillings. County government has been able to subsidize that to ordinary semen going for 400 shillings.
In a county where agriculture is the main economic activity, scientific methods such as the AI are boosting productivity. The county government has subsidized the cost of these programs for the benefit of the farmers.
In every one ya Tharaka Nithi kuko na namba ya inseminator. Inseminator ni mwenye anaweka mbegu.
The average production per farmer currently is about 5 liters. And the intention of government is to ensure that within a short time possible, within maybe 2-3 years, we should be able to shoot this production from 5, 8 kilograms way to 10 kilograms per farmer.
Farmers have also been provided with milk coolers and milk dispensing machines. Melita Oletenges, NTV, Tharaka Nithi County.
About to take a short break on Your World, but before we do, I'm told you're talking to us even as you follow this conversation on safeguarding the welfare of donkeys for our own livelihoods. And we have Edwin Odeni who says, why don't we come up with a strategy of increasing donkey numbers instead of protecting the few we have? It is a challenge for ranchers and breeders to fix the situation. Yes, I posed the same, and I'm glad we talked about it. David Kim says, does that mean people were forced to believe the donkey meat is good for consumption so that they target the 4.8 million from the skins? Good question. Interesting, David. Ali Dugane says, if they emerge the new diseases, please make sure they should be quarantined before they spread to the health society. Samuel Deori says, donkeys are sentient beings. Their welfare, just like the humans, is very important. Yes, that has been reiterated over and over again. Dr. Silas says, what's the population of donkeys in Kenya as per the 2019 census? It actually stands at 600,000. That is why there is the fear that by 2023, this animal could be extinct. Well, we take a short break. We'll be back with more.
Heaviness and a burning inside, it could be heartburn.
Indigestion and heartburn? Eno gets to work in 6 seconds and works on the 6 symptoms of heartburn so you can keep living life non-stop. Eno, fight heartburn and indigestion fast.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Thank you for staying with Your World, our conversation today as we cater for the welfare of donkeys, safeguarding donkeys for livelihoods. And we have seen literally the correlation between donkeys and the livelihoods for those communities that keep them. And I would like to understand, in your work, Elijah, are there some communities that you find have more issues to deal with when it comes to safeguarding the donkeys donkeys than others?
Yeah, there are those, indeed, there are those segments. It's not even more about communities, but different types of our demographics. And as Leonard was talking about, we have the urban youths who use donkeys in urban setup. We have women who use donkeys in the rural setup. We have farmers who use donkeys in the agricultural area. And there is a lot of distinction, even in the way they use, even the way they treat, because of the variety of their environment and the nature of work. So that is the main distinction. And Leonard was talking about the struggles they have when they are working donkeys in towns because of traffic. And because it's supposed to, generate quick money. And most of those guys who use donkeys in the urban setup are hired. So they are not the real owners, they are hired.
Those are the users.
Yes, they need to bring some 1,000 shillings in the evening. So they have to really work very hard. And that's why you see a bit of, mistreatment and overworking in that setup. And it's different from the rural, semi and arid areas where women are using them in a very relaxed manner to fetch water. And their dynamics are different. In this case, you'll have the issues about long distances because they really trek long distances, very hot environment. And sometimes the owners will fetch the water with the donkey, but not give the donkey the water. So now that is a different scenario. So this is where now we would come with that welfare component of please give your donkey water as it fetches your water for you. In the agricultural areas, it's like where Titus was talking about, getting farm produce from the farm to the either market or homes. And it's a whole dynamic again because most of these donkeys are used to bring fodder for dairy cows, but they don't get the fodder themselves. So these are the imbalances in terms of welfare we are trying to bridge, and with those different segments of communities. So I wouldn't say there is a lot of different communal or tribal or cultural differences, except for example Turkana and West Pokot, because now for those guys it is food. And they use it a lot with medicinal issues. They talk about milk that treats quite a number of diseases. And that is their traditional medicine. Yeah. And Kamba will talk about donkey in view of water only. Nothing else is about water. They see donkey, they see water, because they can't survive without water. So that is the distinctions we normally have. And so we have to really make our programming with those in mind. Yes.
Okay, and speaking about cultures, Titus, have you seen culture being an impediment to safeguarding the welfare of donkeys?
I wouldn't say so. Okay, people have, what I can say is that there are people who have some cultural beliefs about donkeys. There are people who believe that a donkey has to be beaten in order to move. Others think that it has to be given a big load in order for it to work. There are people who believe that a donkey doesn't get sick, and so on. So these are just people's attitudes rather than cultural beliefs that are an impediment to the welfare of the donkeys. And yeah.
Now, practices such as firing are some of the issues highlighted when it comes to infringing those welfare, or the welfare we're talking about, of donkeys. What is firing? Is it the beating?
Sorry, say that again?
Firing is it's a traditional practice that has been highlighted as an infringement of their welfare. What exactly is firing?
I'm not getting that. Is it hiring?
Firing, F with an F.
Oh, firing.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know about that that practice, but there are some people who who use hot objects on donkeys, for instance, to mark them out, or to when it has a wound, they believe that by heating it up, then they are able to deal with microbes. In my understanding, that's what it would be. Maybe Dr. Samantha may be able to speak to that.
Yeah, Samantha, help us out here.
Yeah, on firing. Firing is basically, it's like branding the animal. So what you see with cattle, where someone puts either their family code or numbers on the cow's hide, it's the same thing that you would find in some communities doing to the donkeys, because the perception of the belief is that all donkeys are the same. So if you have your donkey in a herd of other donkeys, you feel, unless you maybe cut the ears in a pattern or put some firing marks on the legs or on the neck, then you wouldn't be able to easily identify your donkey. For us, we do not advocate for firing or cutting of the ears because of the welfare aspect. It causes a lot of pain to the donkeys. And remember, we said donkeys are, I think someone called Theuri said that donkeys are sentient and they have feelings and they have memories. So they'll remember the pain that was inflicted on them during the cutting of the ears or the firing. And you'll find even for the donkeys psychologically, if you approach a donkey that has one cut ear, it will be very scared of you approaching it from that side. So you'd have to read your donkey and see where is it fearful, and then how to approach it best so that you don't cause it more psychological trauma.
Interesting. And speaking of which, did you know that donkeys have excellent memory? Yes, they are. They are capable of remembering a place they have been to or other donkeys they meet 25 years ago, as it was mentioned earlier. Did you also know that a donkey will never get involved in an activity if he considers it to be unsafe? And with proper maintenance, actually, and care, a donkey can actually live for more than 40 years. Donkeys are originally from desert areas of Middle East and Africa and are anatomically well equipped to survive in those conditions. Now also, did you know a donkey is capable of hearing another donkey from a distance of over 95 kilometers in proper desert conditions? Yes, this is possible because of their large ears. Their large ears also help to keep their body cool and hot. And arid desert, this comes in handy in those arid desert conditions. Now, we always mark that day of the donkey, and I think we call it National Donkey Welfare Day?
Yeah, Donkey Day.
Okay. Leonard, how important is this day for those that look out for these creatures?
Okay, that day is marked yearly. It's on May 17th. This year we didn't mark it. That day, all donkeys rest. They rest. We mostly go to visit the donkey owner, some of them at home. Some of them we bring them to a field whereby we take care of the donkeys, we deworm them, and we give them the necessary vaccines, especially for rabies. We also have road shows to make people to make awareness of the importance of the donkey, because most people, most people see the donkey and the donkey owner as one and the same, two violent people. So we try to show that this is not what you think, guys. This animal should be well taken care of, and it should be well fed. We also train people. We also try to train people on how to feed them and also to take care of them, and also to show to the other communities that these people who are working in your communities, they are people just like you. They might be earning more than you. Sometimes when we are on the road, we see sometimes conductors abusing us and telling us, "Hey, toka kwa barabara." And we just look at the guy and just pity him. He woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning and he's going to sleep at 11 p.m. You just woke up at 7 and by 3 p.m. you're done. You just go home and rest. So if he knows he would buy a donkey, he would not go and start and be employed. So things like that we do on that day and make an awareness, and it's such a beautiful day. I wish that next year you can be able to come and witness here in Kiambu or wherever we shall be. I'll make sure you'll be invited to come in and be, maybe even be the MC of the day.
Okay, interesting. Looking forward.
Yeah.
Now, Elijah, the day is marked, I was reading, in Kisumu, Nyandarua, Kajiado, Nakuru, and Kitui. Why these counties, seeing that donkeys are spread out across the country?
Yeah, I think it's a national day.
Yes.
Of course, sometimes we go to localities in different counties and we alternate.
Okay.
So probably that was not this year we did it virtually. Probably that was the year before this year. And next year we may go to a different locality. So it's kind of a rotational thing, but we always have one national event in a specific area. Just the way we do these days, we are moving Mashujaa days and these things to counties. Decentralization. Yes.
Okay.
So it's not for specific reason to those counties, but maybe we also look at counties where we have a high population of donkeys, because that is where it makes sense. If you go to like Kitui population of donkeys then was 136,000. So that would be a county of interest even for the county government, because that is a huge livestock asset for them. So we would probably target some of those communities more, counties, more than others.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, even as we bring this conversation to a close, Titus, do you work closely with the county governments to help you achieve your missions on the ground in safeguarding the welfare of donkeys?
Yes, Gladys, we work closely with the county government and with other stakeholders in the counties. The county government is very important for the issues on welfare of donkeys, because they basically have the mandate to agriculture and so on. So we are working with the veterinary department, the agriculture department, the social services department. We are also working with local service providers, the agrovets, who we are training on how they can handle issues, what drugs they can stock to take care of the donkey diseases, and so on. Because as Samantha said, there is very little training in colleges that target the donkeys or even other equines. So we have taken it upon ourselves to put capacity into the extension officers within the counties, as well as local service providers and the farmers.
And Samantha, you come from the science of things. What does the future hold for donkeys?
It's a very hard question. But for donkeys, at the moment, I think if we look at how we use them here, it's mainly for work. And if you look at where donkeys are mostly used, they're found in areas where the road network is poor. So for so long as we still have bad roads, we really need donkeys to at least bring our farm produce from the farms to the road where there's tarmac. So that both the farmer of the farm produce doesn't get losses, and that the food for people like us in the city gets here on time and when it's still fresh. So for the future of donkeys, we still need them.
Yes.
Because they're supporting a lot of, they're really supporting the value chain for a lot of products that come to us, so food and other animal products. So we need to take care of the few that we have remaining. For us at Kendat, we tried to pilot a project of natural breeding for donkeys. So we're not putting them on a farm, but we're just asking some donkey owners to maybe reduce the working hours for their donkeys and give them more time to hang out with each other. And we did that last year, and we had a group of 10 donkeys. That was 7 mares and 3 stallions. From the results we got was all the mares had a foal. So it just shows that when you take care of the welfare of your donkeys by giving them appropriate working hours, feeding them well, giving them the appropriate veterinary care, then we can get more donkeys, but we can't hasten the process. You know, you need to just let the donkeys move at their pace. So we take care of them by doing the natural breeding. We can slowly work towards increasing the population. So my final message would be just take care of the animals as per the animal welfare freedoms, so that we have an increasing population that's sustainable for everyone who needs to work with a donkey.
Okay, now Leonard, briefly state your love for these animals and why it is important to see it to see it beyond the work that it does on a daily.
Animals, they need to be taken care of. One, because they are a source of livelihood for so many people. Not only for us, if you go to nomadic areas, these people, they fully depend on them. Actually, there was a lady and some few gentlemen who we were talking to with yesterday, and they told us they come from Turkana and they are nomadics, and they carry the whole house, the whole tent with them. One donkey can carry a whole house. You know, there are not so many things in the house. So a donkey should be well taken of. And also for us here in the cities, let's also take care of our donkeys. Let's know that we still have an enemy. The slaughterers are still around. So make sure that you feed your donkey well, you keep it in a nice place, and surely it will serve you. It has worked for me, it will work for many, and it will continue working for until Jesus comes, until Christ returns. The donkey is still going to be in existence, and we're still going to need it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I mean, the donkey even carried Jesus, so that good book says. So Elijah, this is a conversation that is ongoing locally and internationally. Your parting shots.
Yeah, we need really to do everything possible to safeguard the donkey species and population. Conversation will go on about breeding and all this, but the numbers, the way they are showing, the facts and figures and reasons, just say we need the ban. We need to uphold that ban, and probably in future we see where it goes in terms of exploring other uses for donkeys, maybe for a GL. But at the moment, we must safeguard the ban.
Okay. Elijah Mithige, who is the programs manager at Brook East Africa, Leonard Gishuho Kagwe, founder and member Kikuyu and Kembu Donkey Owners Association, Dr. Samantha Opere, who is a veterinary officer and a project manager at Kendant, and Titus Agala, who is the country director at Senda Cow Kenya. Thank you all for educating us on the welfare of donkeys, and of course now we see how it ties in to livelihoods. Well, it has been an informative conversation, but before I leave you, let's look at the other world. A Swiss region that has faced heavy criticism for allowing wealthy foreigners to pay large sums to shoot a protected species of wild goat for trophies have decided to end the practice. The southern Swiss canton of Wallis, the only one to allow the trophy hunting, said in a statement that as of next year, foreigners would no longer be granted permits to hunt ibexes. Now, the canton stressed that its alpine ibex population was growing healthily and said there was still a need for responsible regulation through hunting. But it said that from 2021, ibex regulation will only be carried out by hunters residing in the canton of Wallis or those who hold a Wallis hunting license.
C'est bien, hein?
Pete and Paul, the twin pandas, enjoy an ice cream cake as they celebrate their first birthday at a Berlin zoo. They are the first pandas to be born in Germany. The pandas' birthday was marked with a number of goodies fed to the pandas, among them beetroot, carrots, and bamboo ice cake. Cute. Now, hundreds of animal rights and environmental activists marched to Argentina's presidential palace in Buenos Aires to reject the country's talks with China over commercial pork production agreement that, according to the Argentine Foreign Ministry, will be signed in November. One of the animal rights activists says we are here to mark a profound rejection of what has to do with the swine agreement with China. We believe that far from being a solution, it is part of an economic model that is increasingly devastating the planet. Elsewhere, ponies with mutilated ears, disemboweled mares, sordid attacks against horses have increased in recent months across France, causing anguish and anger among owners. Eloise Lang, a student, says, when I managed to get close to him, I saw that he had a dozen traces of wounds, knife wounds. He had some on his shoulders, flank, chest, and he had cuts that were up to a foot long. We never had any problems with the entourage nor with the neighbors or anything. We don't understand what happened. He was quite menacing as soon as you got close to his wounds, and it's really his behavior that says he didn't injure himself, and also the fact that we found two people in the meadow who ran away when I arrived. A team of international vets conduct a medical examination on Pakistan's only Asian elephant, an overweight 35-year-old bull called Kavan, whose plight has drawn international condemnation ahead of his planned move to Cambodia.
From the first assessment today, he is obese. He has to receive foot care. So he has overgrown nails. He has malformated nails. He has cracked nails, really deep crack into the nails, which could lead to a very severe infection. And that would be especially in elephant bulls, which are quite heavy. If you're facing severe foot problems, that could be a disaster. Now we have the measurements, we can design a crate. The crate can be installed here. We can bring, Forpost can bring a trainer who's used to train animals in protected contact. That has happened all regarding positive reinforcement, not with the hope nothing, it's just positive reinforcement. You have to train, you have to wait, he's doing the right thing, and then you get a positive reinforcement. But what I have seen in the last 3 days and what I can see with him in particular, that he will learn very fast. He's very cautious, he want to be active. He's not suffering, I guess, he's bored. He's bored. As you can see, he has very severe stereotypic behavior. This is due to, if you do this stereotypic behavior, your body is producing endorphins, and endorphins make you happy, kind of happy. So he needs physical and mental challenges.
Now starved of international visitors, the house once inhabited by writer Ernest Hemingway in the Florida Keys has struggled to stay open. Almost all of its staff have been laid off during the coronavirus pandemic, yet the 6-toed cats who live there still attract locals to the site. After the author's death in 1961, his home was converted into one of the leading tourist attractions in Key West, which is closer to Havana than to Miami, and where margaritas, diving and sunbathing are a way of life. Its residents have survived the rushes of ferocious hurricanes and economic downturns in the past, but nothing had prepared them for the collapse in tourism brought on by the pandemic. Time to call it a day, but tomorrow Joseph Warungu examines the communication that has been around the COVID-19 pandemic, from the myths, misconceptions, and if the information disseminated around the new coronavirus has resulted to behavioral change in Kenyans. See you then.